Harassment methods. Overview of harassment methods used by FBI's COINTELPRO, Operation Gladio, covert community recruits, and stay behind armies, or instruction manual for community gang stalkers. This is essentially why so many people are homeless or in a DV relationship or strung out on drugs. From Chapter 18, Instruction Manual with Harassment Methods for Community Gang Stalkers, Undercover Community-Based Agents. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another episode. Good morning or good afternoon to all of my viewers, listeners, and Soul Tribe family. The name of this program is called It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory. It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory is a non-profit social service agency suicide prevention campaign servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk. Lending my voice to help raise awareness by soft publishing a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a graphic novel based on true events following my life as a freelance artist. This program is intended to help encourage, heal, and empower survivors of cancel culture and rape culture, providing free information and evidence regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, electronic harassment, gang stalking, conspiracy, and true organized hate crimes against humanity, collective and covert. Your company can help by providing funds in a grant or by donating goods and services as I continue delivering this information and evidence to the general public and advocating for foster children in need. Thank you in advance for all of your support. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing gang stalking, occult ritual stalking, hypersimulation theory, covert psychological operations, plus surviving the New World Order, surviving the New World Disorder per usual, surviving manufactured chaos, surviving manufactured karma, and surviving the electronic targeting Holocaust. My name is Adrienne Alese McAllister. I am the author and the creator of a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. On this program, I advocate for women's rights, basic human rights, and the rights of those disabled. I also advocate on behalf of the foster children in the CPS system, orphans, single mothers, foster mothers, and those less fortunate. Targeted individuals or trafficked victims are predominantly women. 65 to 70% of targeted individuals are white American women or those who identify as such. This makes gang stalking an illegal operation or hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards American women and their children. This program is a dedication to the targeted individual community. The objective of the opposition or the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO 2.0, is to subvert all of the target's potential, to terminate and punish all supporters and sympathizers, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability. Quote, Project Monarch Programming refers to a conspiracy theory claiming that the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, developed a covert trauma-based mind control program. The conspiracy alleges that this program was an offshoot of the real and now widely known CIA project called MKUltra, which sought to develop techniques for interrogation and mind control. Allegations of monarch programming. Advocates of the monarch conspiracy theory claim that it used systemic torture and abuse to intentionally cause extreme trauma to subjects. Forcing their minds to disassociate. and create alter egos or manipulate multiple personalities. These personas could then be, quote, programmed. According to the theory, these alters could then be, quote, programmed using symbols and specific triggers to carry out a range of clandestine operations such as assassination, sex slavery. No wonder so many people's husbands are addicted to porn. How sad. Intelligence gathering. Ancient evils, chess, not checkers. This counterculture, the FBI treating people like live human chess pieces or pawns in a game of chess. Often using children, as you'll see demonstrated in the movie Harry Potter. The federal government imposes its own idea of reality onto you. Intelligence operations, PSYOP. FBI Director John Edgar Hoover, keyword and last name, quote, Hoover. So the idea is to attack the victim covertly, to engineer a position from which it can make deliberate efforts to influence the outcome of a situation by employing specific methods. Covertly intercepting and hoovering to triangulate. This manipulative tactic is called a narcissistic hoover and triangulating. It's like playing a game of, quote, Invisible Man. The undercover agents, aka spy, quote, play, quote, act, or, quote, pretend to be innocent bystanders to influence the outcome of a situation by employing technical methods of psychological torture and malicious harassment. The history of spying in Japan dates all the way back to ninja spies who were among the elite samurai warrior class. The ninja samurai was a man who mastered the art of making himself invisible. The classic role of a secret agent. The ultimate goal of the PSYOP is to simulate the feeling of being choked to death. To put it modestly, it's a hypersimulation to simulate the feeling of being forced, suffocated, smothered, and choked to death using systemic torture and abuse to intentionally cause extreme trauma to subjects, forcing their minds to disassociate. My voice is a weapon. To put it modestly, it's a hypersimulation to simulate the feeling of being forced, suffocated, smothered, and choked to death using systemic torture and abuse to intentionally cause extreme trauma to subjects, forcing their minds to disassociate. To get official recognition, it needs to hold the victim accountable, engineering a covert operation to misdirect accountability or reframe. This is called a reframe. 5G warfare weapons, technology using AI to engineer the operation, quote, Gladio, as in everybody will be glad that you died. Hacking and tracking tech devices, installing malware and spyware to all active devices. The vehicles that you see me share aren't just any vehicles. These vehicles are used to maliciously harass for video surveillance and psyche profiling. Understand that the enemy is secretly jealous and wants to see you suffer for making it, quote, feel that way. The point is that this is happening whether you choose to believe it or not. The tech devices, such as cell phones, become tracking devices, and these gang stalkers are able to maliciously harass targets 24/7. The attacks have to be applied using obsessive repetition and synergistic coordination to maximize the effectiveness of the program. The attacks have to be applied using obsessive repetition and synergistic coordination to maximize the effectiveness of the program, perpetuating a cycle of ongoing trauma, latching on or attaching itself to any and all trauma, anchoring for trauma-based mind control, inciting violence, systemic sabotage, systemic physical sabotage, to discredit the target, and to stage a synthetic psychological collapse. The ultimate goal of the operation, intelligence operations, is the slow kill and attrition-based approach, or death by 1,000 tiny scratches. In other words, an assisted suicide program. The point of the program is to have the maximum psychological effect and leave the minimal amount of evidence. The U.S. military states, quote, "The goal is to overwhelm the target by attacking all 5 senses plus motor and cognitive functions," end quote. Political warfare, the scientific application of terror and propaganda as a way of securing ideological victory over an enemy, quote, mirroring psyche profiling and otherwise, simulating schizophrenic hallucinations. This tactic is called directed conversation, simulating paranoid delusions. The ultimate goal of the operation is to modify the behavior of the victim by destroying their will to live using a relentless attack consisting of painful triggers. To intercept, isolating the victim so no one outside the criminal syndicate recognizes the truth forged into the victim, designed to torture the victim to death. When the victim is injured or calls for help, like for instance 911, Black Op agents refuse to take complaints of the victim. The victim is trapped and treated like an animal in a cage repeatedly by Black Ops agents, forcing the will of the victim to, quote, break, forcing the victim to give up on life, brainwashing and convincing the victim that there's nothing left worth living for. It has to brainwash everybody because nobody even believes it when it speaks. It's incapable of speaking true words because it's a con artist, and the entire gang-stalking conspiracy is a Ponzi scheme and is slavery. It attracts stalkers, psychopathic followers, not friends. It's incapable of friendships, so only those who share the same appetite for cruelty are, quote, friends. It recruits by force of will because nobody will ever even join willfully. A cult-like, quote, following. They gather around one another like flies on shit. It needs constant supply and validation from the group because psycho-sadists enjoy killing a bit too much. It brags and boasts about the abuse, the torture, the death, and the rape. It takes trophies from its victims. An example, stealing rape victims' finest underwear, revealing intimate photos of rape victim, or threatening to do so, stealing rape victim's spouse or husband, boyfriend, or family, etc. It gives the victim nicknames which mocks the violence it inflicts on women. It gives the victim nicknames which mocks the violence it inflicts on women. An example, calling the victim Jenny, calling myself Jenny. Laughs while others starve and suffer, mocks the suffering using a systemic, technical method of torture. These covert counterintelligence operations become the core of what will later be known as the New World Order, a counter-proliferation targeting program, also known as a global war on terror. Your influence is harmful because your intention is malice, period. Peace officers think that just because they don't smoke or drink that their influence is somehow charming. That is simply not the case. Traffickers probably feel really big about themselves having so much, quote, power over its rape victim. However, I've done the research and I've wrote the books, plural, on it. Research and data analysis indicate that behaving this way actually makes a narcissist more insecure about themselves. This misbehavior leaves it feeling empty inside. Nothing soothes this empty space. No amount of porn will ever be good enough. The simple act of it giving attention, negative attention albeit, is giving its, quote, power away. So just the simple fact that it hoovers, a gang-stalk, all of this is giving its power away. When it hoovers, I have to remind myself it's obsessing over me because I'm simply irresistible, like fine wine. That ass just keeps getting better with time. Simply put, it loves me and worships the ground that I walk on. Brainwashing, fear and cults. Fear is a very powerful incentive. Fear becomes the driving force behind why a lot of people behave the way they do. Consuming fear in the media, it forces you to conform. Torture is done to break the mind down and to rebuild or rewire the mind in their image. According to their image, according to their narrative. The media uses fear to control. For example, mass media and cult mind control convince people that the world is unsafe by introducing terrorist attacks to the cult mind control ritual in the mass media. Actual deaths in America from terrorism since 9/11, only 4 people per year. Actual death in America from doctors not washing their hands, 87,000 people per year. Quote, fear and quote hate. Fear and hate resonate and vibrate at the same frequency across the entire universe. If the media is making you, quote, fear someone, it is actually brainwashing you to hate that person. Because we hate what we fear and we fear what we hate. Emotional manipulation and verbal abuse. Because, quote, nobody even believes you, end quote. Because you, quote, know too much, end quote. Because you, quote, seen too much, end quote. Reframe. Nobody has to even believe me. The only person I need to convince is myself, the person that was there. To make the target, quote, feel like they have to fight. To make the victim, quote, feel like they have something to defend. An example, secrets, lies, or things hidden. So just think about it this way. All of that stuff you guys keep in incognito mode. The government takes all of it. The information you're giving the device, every last bit of it, it takes all of it, and then it uses that information to run these counter-proliferation targeting programs so that people like me will be abused in a violent relationship. Systemically, of course, this is being perpetuated. Or the only other option will be to be homeless and sleep in the streets, which is ultimately the goal here. That's the punishment for being, quote, woke. So in any case, to make the victim, quote, feel like they have something to defend. All right. Defensiveness for no reason implies guilt. So a man doesn't actually have to say, oh my God, I think these other chicks are hot. All he has to do is get defensive, and he might as well have already said that. Like if you say that bitch is fat and ugly, and he gets defensive for no reason whatsoever, he might as well have just said, no, she's not. I think she's beautiful. I would fuck her any day. And matter of fact, I'd rather her here than you. Which is ultimately what he's being conditioned for. That is like using them as live pawns, live chess pieces. This is all the same thing. It all is relevant. It all is relevant. And this show is the only one bold enough to speak any truth. So, in any case, know your truth, heroes. To stop the victim from socializing at all costs. To stage a synthetic mental illness using isolation, deprivation, psyops, and electronic harassments. To impose a feeling of intense fear and hopelessness. Space is a weapon. Space is an enemy. Space is a weapon. Space is an enemy. So all of that cyberspace is a weapon. Space on Pornhub is an enemy. So in any case, let's not get too far off tracks. Simulated trips to the moon. Simulated trips to Mars. Simulated trips to space. Tesla. Up there in the vastness of space, in the void that is sky, up there is an enemy known as isolation. Think of Electronic Corpse Manual, ufology, ufologists, demonology, alien worship, hoovering, quote, craft, as in witchcraft. This is a witchcraft practice. This hoovering by the FBI is a witchcraft practice. It actually has nothing to do with aliens whatsoever. So in any case, hoovering, quote, craft, as in witchcraft, the Elon Musks of the world and that entire cult. Astrologists, NASA, astronauts, SpaceX, tarot, and moon magic rituals, just to list a few. Algorithms simulating PSYOP. Human beings are social beings and we seek social support and a world in which we are understood. It intercepts to prevent the victim from finding real people who share these experiences and can provide understanding and support. It infiltrates, so the enemy has spies, implanted shills as imposters to pretend to be someone who can, quote, help. To exploit the, quote, help by instead reinforcing a very high level of preoccupation. To pose under the guise of some sort of, quote, group support, and really is just an unhealthy preoccupation. Forcing the target into isolated groups where their plans or ideas are rejected repeatedly. To simulate the feeling of being rejected by God. Similar psyops are engineered with religion, making you feel like you have to fight to avenge Jesus' death. Videos are made to mock targets and facilitate an electronic targeting holocaust. Social media influencers, in movies, on podcasts, songs, newspaper, gossip columns, magazines, etc. A cyber Pearl Harbor. All of which work collectively and covertly to mock this target in every way on every tabloid front, using a cover story to conceal crimes against humanity. These, quote, actors were all hired to mock the victim, to cover up the targeting operation, to facilitate impoverishment. Go woke, go broke. Woke mob motto. New Age psyops and cancel culture mobs. I hope you know that if I have to hit the street and be homeless, I'll be taking a stop gang-stalking sign with me, and I'll be hitting that fucking corner like yo mama every fucking night, ho. New Age psyops, and I will be protesting this live. New Age psyops and cancel culture mobs. So that's essentially what is actually going on. Quote, go woke, go broke is a political and cultural slogan that suggests companies that adopt, quote, woke or progressive social stances will face financial ruin due to customer boycotts and backlash. So what it basically means is what I've already demonstrated and provided as evidence and information on my YouTube channel, is that because Black folks have special rights, they will actually take these Black Lives Matter riots into the job where you work and covertly blackmail you and harass you there, stalk you there covertly, and it uses exploitation, sexual exploitation, to harass. So it'll buy, fish sticks. It'll buy tuna. It'll buy, let's say milk jugs, because I got some big ones, but it's doing this repetitively. It'll buy wieners. It'll buy Apple Jacks. This is why I was fired, wrongfully terminated, because these Black Lives Matter riots were blackballing myself while I was at work, and so I was wrongfully terminated. So this will be the case, as you can clearly see. The term, quote, woke mob refers to the social justice activists these are not activists. These social justice it's unreal. It doesn't exist. It's funny how they want to exist, but at the same exact time, they want to not exist. They want to be invisible. They want to be seen, but they want to be invisible at the same time. It's really interesting to me how they play the fence like that. The term, quote, woke mob refers to the social justice activist. The only one doing anything is me. The rest of these people owe restitutions, point blank, period. The term, quote, woke mob refers to the social justice activists who are perceived as pressuring corporations into taking these stances. All right, whatever. Modern day COINTELPRO objectives. Modern day COINTELPRO objectives. These are counter-proliferation centered programs intended to subvert all progress, to discredit the target, to character assassinate the target, to slander the target, to taint the target's image, to misrepresent the target, to suppress the target's monetary success, to suppress the target's good character qualities or people's awareness of positive aspects of the target. So, like, if I complain, I'm not well. So, well, somehow the strongest soldier on the battlefield is somehow not well. Let me just say something really quick before I go any further and possibly forget. There's no I in team. If I am mentally ill, then we are mentally ill. You better be fucking lucky that I'm not mentally ill. I have epilepsy. There's a difference. You should learn it, genius. Having good mental health isn't even an option that I'm given. I'm just only allowed to be crazy. That's it. So the fact that I'm a brilliant artist that changed the entire world, this is all being suppressed. So anyways, that good character quality about me, the fact that I am an amazing world-changing artist, that's being suppressed. So in any case, everybody just thinks I'm crazy. It's nuts. Even though they've got the eyes, ears, and senses to know and to see and to hear all of this criminality taking place for them own selves, they decide to remain silent, blind, deaf, and play dumb for whatever reason. I guess it's fear. Like I said, it's the fear. I mean, if somebody held my entire family at gunpoint and told me not to say anything, I suppose I might keep my mouth shut and just go along with whatever they would like me to do, I suppose. However, that's not been the case. To arrange a partner for the target or mind control the partner of the target. So the target, it's being tortured. They want this target, myself and others like me. They want us to be homeless. I mean, I really don't understand why people don't get this. This is a very covert and collective attempt to make sure that white people like myself, white women like me, are found dead in a ditch somewhere. And I know that it's so fucking mad that it hasn't been able to do that yet. That's why I always call them inadequate assassins, because the only one doing any ass kicking, the only one doing any actual ass whipping is myself. Have to defend me. Nobody else will. So in any case, to arrange a partner for the target or to mind control the partner of the target. I've seen this so many fucking times. It's ridiculous. This is why women get left for porn, because it's an entire psyop. To destroy relationships of the target, to co-opt the target's manifestation, cooperative, which refers to a jointly owned enterprise. Matter of fact, when a man loses his wife and becomes really, really depressed and suicidal, they will actually send like an entire sex cult out to have a threesome with him. just to lift his spirits up again. This is sick. Ew. Just to distract him from the pain that he's feeling because his wife left him. Or whatever. To turn the target into controlled opposition in terms of beliefs and actions, to incriminate the target, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability, to suppress the target's personality, a sanitization of pleasure, emotions, and individuality, to punish the target, to torture the target, to destroy the target's life, to stop a target from procreating, ending a target's bloodline, eugenics, to suicide the target, to covertly assassinate the target, to cover up the targeting operation. If they see too much power and originality coming out of someone, they either use it and siphon it, or they undermine it in order to neutralize it. COINTELPRO 2.0 methodology, covert remote influencing technology. COINTELPRO 2.0 thought surveillance, neural AI net for psyche profiling. One thing that I wanted to mention about this psyche profiling, there was what would appear to be a white lady that died in the media. Supposedly, maybe she was Russian or Scandinavian. I'm not really sure, and it really doesn't matter to me either way. However, I'm the one writing all this news anyways. I'm ghost producing all of this media, every last drop of it anyways. So I really could care less. And so in any case, she was stabbed in the throat to death. And I, for the life of me, cannot pronunciate this lady's name. So don't even. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get that. But, so anyways, some name, however, she may not have been herself American, but she had the appearance, the all-star American chick appearance, American girl appearance. So in any case, she was stabbed to death on the bus. Apparently, the guy that stabbed her said that she was reading his mind. The very interesting thing about this whole situation is that there is an entire list, like a black book. All of your friends, your neighbors, your landlord, the utility crews, man, the landscaping guys, your relationship, your boyfriend, your teacher, your boss, your coworker, your colleagues, your brother, your sister, your auntie, your uncle, your grandmother, everybody, your doctor, the police, everybody that you can fathom, the pastor even is contacted. And they are all given this app so that they can track you and surveil your thoughts. If you're a high profile target like myself, then they absolutely are all reading your mind. They're all approached by the FBI or some central intelligence operation officer, or some sort of agency, some sort of governmental agency. They're all given a complete lie of a narrative. They have to lie. There's the only way people would go along with this is if the FBI and the government lie. In order to get them to cooperate, they have to lie. Nobody would do it willingly. So in any case, they come at you with this, oh, she's on this list, she's wanted as a terrorist, or just whatever spiel it is that they're spieling. It's a lie. It's a complete front. It's a complete lie. The only way they could get the neighbors, the landlord, everybody to participate in this is if they gotta lie. There's only one way. Nobody would do this willingly. Nobody. And the fact that so many people come back afterwards, after all of these rumors and all of this slander and all of my exes, the fact that, people, I can move on in my life, and 10, 15 years later, people are in my DMs like, hey, what's up? And like, this is how I know that the psyop works and serves to distract, because why were they so distracted before? And it takes them 10, 15, 20 years to come back around to try to, reignite some sort of friendship or kinship, when, it shouldn't be that way, and it should never be that way. So in any case, it's a distraction. So like I was saying, every single person is encouraged to use these apps so that they can absolutely read our minds, so that they can calculate our potentials before we are even aware of them. COINTELPRO 2.0 directed energy weapon mind control network for counterproliferation targeting. So even if I was trying to get out of an abusive relationship, he's already been given this app where he can quite literally track me, quite literally see who it is that I'm talking to on my phone, even though he does not pay my phone bill. This is really scary stuff here. So, directed energy weapon mind control network for counterproliferation targeting, AI-based retrocausation, extensive international neural monitoring programs can calculate a target's potentials before the target is aware of them. Gang-stalking, organized stalking, trauma-based mind control, no-touch torture, character assassination, slander via proxies, technological illusions, psyops, and misdirection. That's like all of the peace operations and the porn, the honeypots, and everything else like that. Electromagnetic mind control aimed at discrediting the target. Mind control of people who provide opportunities of the target or for the target. Use of family against the target. An example, mind control of the family. So you won't have any family, like not under these circumstances. Absolutely not. You won't have any friends because they're all being mind controlled. Use of pharmaceutical drugs against a target. So they like to play this game where, they'll impose a feeling of stress, intense fear, by making me think that like they're going to cancel my doctor's appointment. And even if I do show up to the appointment, it's going to run a psyop there that's basically intended to kill me. To kill all progress, to kill any and all goals or plans, and essentially to leave me wanting to kill myself once I leave. Okay, once the psyop is done, it's to facilitate impoverishment and to stage a synthetic psychological collapse. To orchestrate the detaining of the target in a psych ward, done and done. This has been done like 6 times already. I'm a fucking gangster. These things actually tried to overdose me and kill me inside of the psych ward and failed. Can you fucking believe that? Wow, God is so good. V2K, to get a target diagnosed as a, quote, paranoid schizophrenic. This tactic is called directed conversation. And the person or the people's perpetuating these tactics, like somebody, let's say, who performs directed conversation, you may think either 1, you're going insane, like how is this person reading my mind, or 2, like maybe either you feel like you're telepathically inclined, or maybe you feel like that other person is telepathically inclined or supernaturally gifted. However, I can reassure you, you are not crazy, and they are not supernatural aliens who just so happen to read your mind. It has technology. It's a spy, and it's an entire elaborate organization of spies and assassins. Exaggerated, warped, and untrue slander about the target is proliferated. So think of the worst thing you can call somebody. This is the idea here. With absolutely no proof whatsoever either, by the way. This exaggerated, warped, and untrue slander with no proof whatsoever. Just out here wilding. No criminal record, no history, nothing. Nothing. Technology playing devil's advocate via implanted thoughts to get a target in trouble. Sweetheart, these dudes do not like you. They don't even like themselves. If he's not a good husband to his wife, what makes you think he's going to be a good lover for you? They don't like you. They're horny, 24/7. It just wants to fuck. It doesn't care about you at all. Agenda to incriminate the target. Advice for COINTEL targets. Stay lawful. So, are you not hearing this? There's an agenda to incriminate the target. That's entrapment. That's entrapment. That's entrapment. Get the fuck out of town with that. Pay your fucking restitution so you don't end up dead in a ditch somewhere. Use of ego against a target. Weaponized mind control against a target. Coercing of a target into appearing overly paranoid. An example, an objective of stalking. Specific technological control of a target's body language or vocal tone. An example, to generate mistrust. You all don't even know what it means to be a strong woman until you're 7 years into a relationship and the FBI thinks it's funny to send a Kim Kardashian knockoff and he gets a boner standing right in front of you to the point where he has to touch his penis instantly. You don't even know what it means to be a strong woman until you've had to deal with this more than once. So, this is like the funniest thing to them. I don't understand why this is so funny. Somebody clearly has a fucking tiny penis and they're really insecure about it. So in any case, specific technological control of a target's body language. So this is kind of it right here. They can make him get a boner instantly. Oh my God, like they control him. They have so much power over him. I am such an amazing woman, such a strong woman for all that I have dealt with. It's insane. Total individual control. Technology is used as a tactic to take away a citizen's rights through faulty mental health or faulty mental illness diagnoses. This is currently happening. This is ongoing. So the electronic harassment, it simulates a faulty mental illness diagnosis. And these doctors know it too. They're happy to do it. It's a class war. Outlandish black project technology experiences intended to discredit when spoken. The other day I was typing up the Operation Gladio. I went to write the words peace officer and peace operations, for instance, and it popped up really small because that's the entire operation with the Kim Kardashian knockoff and the yoga pants. It's intended to incite domestic violence. It is a terrorist attack, actually. And these women's bodies are, quote-unquote, weapons of mass destruction. It's just disgusting. Traffickers trying to brag. In any case, absolute filth. Scum of the earth type of stuff. In any case, like I said, when I went to write the word peacekeeping operations, it was the only part of the whole rest of the text that turned out small. So that would be the outlandish black project technology experiences, or just similar things, odd, funny little glitches. A use of electronic control grid to mind control misfortunes for a target. Synthetic social phobias. Synthetic social anxiety. An example, public speaker related suppression. Suppression of whatever platform the target is talented in. An example, music production, software design. I'm a model, so it's suppressing my ability to find work. And the way that it does this is basically by saying that anybody who hires me to work or get a gig with or to work with, it'll basically cancel them. So it'll mob that person up and it'll cancel that person. It'll intimidate them and use all these tactics. And so that's how it's controlling that. It's saying that I'm a racist, a Karen, just all of this stuff and anything and everything to get it to where I don't have a gig or a job. To dehumanize a target via electromagnetic neuroscience, severe targets are sanitized of pleasure, emotions, and personality. So like the honeypots and pretty much every peacekeeping operation or officer, everybody working these psyops, they're completely sanitized of any personality. It's a complete 110% fucking robot. Synthetic suicide programming, technologically enabling serial killers with a taste for revolutionaries and activists. So, if they have a taste for activists, then why don't they go for the social justice warriors, right? Why don't they practice what they preach? I really don't understand that. It's rules for thee, but not for me. Electronic targeting holocaust. So, in any case, they have issues. You can see here, this is
if you look on the road, you won't see SUVs filled to the brim. Most Americans drive alone 3/4 of the time. And when we do have passengers in gear, we almost never go above the 5-person capacity of a sedan. Well, 4 adults comfortably. Anyway, in those rare circumstances, when you're buying a fridge or loads of drywall, you can just rent a trailer for $20. We pay on average $10,000 more for an SUV and then almost $1,000 per year on gas. We don't need it, but we're convinced we do because we're victims of this brainwashing. Sometimes brainwashing is not a matter of changing your perception of something, but rather keeping you from thinking about things entirely, making your world exist in a well-controlled bubble. If you look outside your window, life looks pretty good. But in other parts of the world, famines sometimes happen. This is tough, but it doesn't have to be deadly. Starving to death takes 40 days. But for only 50 cents a day, a person can be fed until the famine is over. Now this guy is wearing $120 of new clothes. If he had chosen to use that money instead to feed starving people, he would have saved 6 lives. Now, does he say to himself, these clothes are great, totally worth 6 people dying a slow, torturous death? No. He makes that decision because the messages around him are controlled. So his thought process doesn't even consider it. He doesn't even know people are suffering. He only sees things in his particular bubble. He lives in a different reality. Now, let's compare that with evil people from fiction. In the horror movie Saw, the bad guy doesn't kill anyone directly, but he makes choices that put people in situations where they die painful but relatively quick deaths. Certainly, quick compared to 40 days. This was so horrifying that people went to see 9 sequels. If you go back to the guy who bought the SUV when he didn't need one, that's $20,000 of unnecessary spending over 10 years, which works out to 1,000 people starving to death because he was brainwashed by advertising.
He tells Susan he's on a 4-month UN peacekeeping mission in Yemen.